the March 4, 2025 and May 6, 2025 meetings. Ulysses?
Get them both this morning.
Yes, I read the meeting minutes for March 4th, and I would like to make a motion to accept minutes.
And I will
This-
second.
This is the one that we signed the planning, yeah, okay.
Yes.
See, it's been that long.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, oh,
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes of March 4, 2025 meeting. Any more discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried. And the minutes of May 6, 2025 meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the May 6th, 2025.
Oh, you're right.
Anybody care to
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay. Moved and seconded to approve the May 6th meeting minutes. Any more discussion needed? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Item 3, Chair's report. There is none. Item 4, Code Enforcement Officer's report.
nothing.
Nothing comes to mind. We talked about the ordinance issues at the last meeting 2 months ago. You weren't there, but we had received a complaint after we approved that last subdivision that we made a mistake. I went through and looked. I'm trying to go quick, but basically the long and the short of it was that it used to be in our ordinance that if it was part of a subdivision, then the minimum lot size in R1 had to be 2 acres and have 200 feet of frontage. And the way the ordinance is currently written, it says 1 acre and 100 feet of frontage. And that 2 acre line out of the table was never removed properly with council approval. It disappeared sometime between 16 and 17, and we don't really know how or why, but we discussed it and we all felt that it didn't make sense to have a different standard for one person's lot than for another. You'll be shocked to hear that I got another email, and the reasoning for the difference evidently was because the comprehensive plan committee was trying to slow down, basically what it seemed to me was to slow down urban sprawl. And
Oh,
Urban and sprawl and Bucksport.
really?
I mean, they didn't use that term, but I mean,
Oh, okay.
basically, they were trying to get people to build in the, they wanted people to build in the residential growth zone, which is a great idea. We don't own that land, so we can't force people to build on land we don't own and don't have a way to get them onto. So it's great if somebody that owns that land wants to develop it.
If I can remember correctly, it's very close to that.
What's that?
If I remember correctly, where we were looking at that,
The
Obviously,
residential
land is
growth
pretty close to
area,
it.
for the most part, is between this Miles Lane and
Uh-huh.
Route 46. It's kind of that
Okay.
swath there.
yeah, isn't it, but doesn't
And-
it go up by,
It goes all the way out
Near
to
Russell.
race course. Goes out to race course.
So Russell Hill's on the
Yeah,
other side.
it is, but it's, like I said, that land is not available. And there's no infrastructure there yet, so I mean, it's, in any case, I went with what we discussed and put into the ordinance, the 1 acre for everybody. And also in reviewing that old ordinance from 1617, the R4 zone, the R2 zone, which is the more rural areas, we have it currently as 4 acre minimum lot size, but that's not, it was only supposed to be 4 acre if it was a subdivision. It was supposed to be 2 acres if it wasn't in a subdivision of 4 acres, but again, that 2 acre line was gone. So I never knew that, so I assumed if you're an R2, the ordinance says it's supposed to be 4 acres, so that's what I've been telling people since I've been here for 6 years.
And it should
So-
be 2.
It should be 2.
So making smaller lot sizes would make it easier for people to build, or I mean.
Yes.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's requiring 2 acres.
Yeah.
Or
So
whatever is.
I put those changes through to the, I also told you at the last meeting, we've been doing this codification process. It's been about a 1.5 year long process where, and it would be done by now if I hadn't had my accident, but in any case, they've gone through all of our ordinances, checked them against the state laws to make sure that they jive with those, and to make sure that we're using the same terminology. So like we used marijuana, they've changed everything at the state level to cannabis, so now our stuff will all say cannabis and we'll have the same definitions as theirs, that kind of thing. So the document that I sent you today that we're gonna review has all the changes that they have implemented, and inside that is that change in lot size and road frontage to match what we discussed, which is basically 1 acre for everybody in R1, 100 feet of frontage for everybody in R1, 2 acres and 200 feet of frontage, I think it is, for R2. And the 4 acre thing just goes away. So, because we said we didn't want to have different standards for subdivision. Obviously, we're here tonight to discuss any of these changes that you may have issues with. So if you have different thoughts or if you've changed your mind, it's a good time to say it. And we can go down through these. I've got them here up on the wall so people at home can see. The document is also on the website, so you can view it there. To view it on the website, if you're watching at home, you'd go to the calendar on the town's website and click on the planning board meeting, and the agenda and the document we're reviewing tonight are linked right there. So, and then another thing I said in the email, but just so that people at home know, not everything on this list, the planning board has authority to approve or reject.
Right.
You guys have authority over land use, subdivision, maybe short-term rental. That's kind of that it could have been put into the land use ordinance. We didn't, it's a separate thing, but obviously, even if you don't have a say over it, if you have thoughts and you have concerns, you're still Bucksport citizens, and I want to hear what your thoughts are. So if you have concerns,
Doesn't the council, couldn't they override us? if
they certainly can.
So I mean, we are mostly an advisory
You are,
capacity
But
to
that's-
the council who has the ultimate say.
but you're supposed to be the quote-unquote authority on the land use side of things, and they should lean heavily on what you guys say when it comes to that area of it. So tonight we review it some. Next month we have the public hearing. If you guys all approve it, then it goes to the council and they have two hearings. They have a first reading and then they have a second reading with the public hearing. And if everything after all that is approved, then it becomes the new ordinance and all those issues are gone and done with. Any questions about any of that before we start? No? Okay. I guess we're good.
Unfinished business? None. 6, new business, review of proposed changes to ordinances as part of codification process.
All right, so I know you didn't have a ton of time, but have you had a chance to review it?
Yeah, some. Yep.
Okay.
It looks like things like you mentioned,
Yeah.
handicap gets changed to disability, just
Mhm.
bring it up to state standards.
Yep.
Similar language.
All the fines got removed, or at least I
Yep.
think they did. And instead it has language referring to the state, to 30A subsection 4452, which dictates what the fines are. So we refer to that rather than put in there, because we had it the way it was. It could be a $50 fine for this and a $20 fine for that, and it was all over the place. And of course, none of it accounts for inflation, and
Right.
so this makes it more universal.
I
And
changed my title to deputy chairman.
yes, well, it seemed like the perfect time to do that. because it's part of the town code and not part of the charter.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't do that if it was council, but the council actually doesn't use secretary, they have mayor and deputy mayor.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make sense to have
Aye.
secretary when you don't do secretarial
Right.
duties, you're really a deputy chair, so.
Right.
So it seemed like a good time to change that when we're already doing all these other changes.
Yep.
So let's see, animal control stuff again
That's
was
not
all.
ours. Harbor management's not ours, land use, chapter 100.
Yeah, I mean, the automobile graveyard and recycling stuff, that's all just changing it to the state laws.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the numbers changed and stuff, so they updated those. I mean, a lot of this really is really basic stuff.
Mm-hmm. If it was proposed to be changed, it's stricken out and then the new language is underlined.
Correct. So like they changed licensing to permitting
Yeah.
because we don't issue a license for that, it's a permit. They caught things that I didn't even.
Good.
Yeah. So
I looked
yeah,
through it
there's your-
briefly yesterday. I didn't see anything crazy. It looked like it was just trying to clarify and bring it up to current standards for language.
For the most part. So like under building construction, I've never had a permit expire 180 days. I've always told people they had a year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Granted, evidently I was wrong because the ordinance does say 180 days, but I've never held people to that, especially in the way things have been since COVID. 180 days is not even close to enough time. And usually I tell people if they've substantially started in the first year, I give them the second. You know, if obviously if they haven't even started the project, then the permit's no good. But if they're trying, then
So Luke, did I understand you right that we're having this discussion today and then next month, that would be a public.
we have to, like, we'll have to have a public hearing. Yeah.
So one thing I was gonna bring up, I was thinking about, and this had to do with the lot size. I know in some places, especially in rural areas, but it depends on environmental conditions. If groundwater is scarce, they'll tend to put a larger minimum lot size on just to not to deplete aquifers, things like that. But I don't see that here. I don't think we have a whole lot of limitations. But if anybody could think of anything, groundwater or the ability to treat septic, if you could think of any areas that might be sensitive and you want to have a larger lot size.
I get what you're saying. I don't personally know of any areas. I do in
I can't think-
Orland, but I
yeah.
don't here.
Right.
There's a whole area in East Orland where it's very hard to hit water. But over here,
Yeah.
George, you've been doing this a lot longer than me. Are you aware of any areas where people have a hard time getting water?
I don't think it's ever come up in
No.
my time here.
And then the other thing is
Is
if
there
they
a
were
s-
trying to have different zoned areas be less dense than say a village area, that would be one reason to have a larger lot size.
Right. The other thing I meant to mention this during my little spiel earlier was we were required by law under this LD 2003 that we had to incorporate into our ordinances. That's the accessory dwelling unit
Mhm.
laws
Yep.
and the density bonus laws, and there's more that they're proposing this year that would be even more, I don't even know what the word is, radical. So basically under these laws that we were forced to incorporate, people are allowed these accessory dwelling units and we can't say no. So it's essentially it's a second house.
Mm.
So I would assume that language is all in here because I wrote a ton.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's allowed at least one. And in some cases, you're allowed two or even three, depending on the areas. And minimum lot sizes do not apply.
for accessory dwelling.
Yeah,
So if I wanted to put another, like a tiny home on my property, I could do that.
My
Yep.
Any
Even if-
restriction on?
even if we as a board said we don't wanna allow this, we don't have a say, the state has passed a law that says we have to allow it.
So, okay,
It's kinda like there was, ordinance in town that there can be mobile homes on certain lot sizes, and
Right.
that has been,
They did that last year too, so now
Hmm.
we have to allow a mobile home anywhere we allow a single family dwelling. So
Any restrictions on
And
property
it's-
limits, being close to property limits?
setbacks can still apply.
Okay.
We can't make them stricter for accessory dwelling units than they are for the single family dwelling units. And we can't go rewrite our ordinance to put in things that will make it restrictive to accessory dwelling units
Hmm.
after the fact, you know, like, oh, well, if we change this,
Mhm.
it'll affect everybody, but it'll stop, we can't do that. So they kind of thought of everything, and when it came to really putting us in a bind. And there's parts of it I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind if they're, especially with city sewer. Like where you are, you said, you know, if you've got the spot to do it, and you can tie it into city sewer, what do I care?
I've got that, I've added that woodlot that borders Dick's property. It looks,
Yeah.
it's the end of the road that your sister's on there, like whatever.
Buckley Ave?
Used to be Mount Olive Heights, whatever the name of that road is.
Oh, up there.
Mount Olive,
What? Oh, whatever it was.
Olive Heights.
Or something,
sorry,
anyway,
yeah.
but, so you can see the bridge in the bay, so
Yeah.
like, we talked about, well, maybe you could put a tiny home up there and then Airbnb that for income. It's right close to all the city,
Right.
services, but then and I think even if I had to be 10 feet away from Dick's property line, there's nothing you could do. But I'm like, I don't know, but that we could do that, is what you're saying.
You could, I don't know about I don't remember if I looked at a lot of other people's ordinances, and a lot of towns put in restrictions on allowing ADUs to be used as short-term rentals.
Hmm.
Cause the whole point of allowing them was to increase,
rental.
Oh,
low-income housing. That's the state's whole mantra is low income, low income, low income. And yet they push energy codes that make everything way more expensive, so don't get me started. But, I don't remember whether I put that in ours or not, it would be in here, just gotta find it.
Chapter
short-term
100.
oh, anyway.
No, not in there, in
I'm not
the,
close to doing this, and
no, it's a good thing for us to discuss,
Chapter 100 in land use.
yeah,
It's like, it says definition, accessory dwelling ADU.
what page you're on,
Section
12.
page 12, A11.
sorry for people if you're seeing this at home.
Right there.
fast.
Yeah, right there, up.
Alright, so,
I think he's looking for the part that says whether it can be used as a short term.
Yeah, it's right
Right,
there. For
but-
rental housing, a household whose income does not exceed 80% of the area median.
well, that's actually the definition of affordable. That's part of the density bonus thing.
Right, short-term rentals, chapter 180 on page 22.
way down there.
But that's, yeah, again, this isn't part of the short-term rental rules. It would
Okay.
be part of the
Oh, right,
ADU rules.
right, okay.
And I don't know, honestly, I don't remember if I
I
put it
don't
in there.
recall seeing anything in that, I was.
I might not have, cause I know a lot of people are gonna wanna do that. And as long as it meets all the requirements of our short-term rental ordinance, I don't know that I care. But again, it's not all up to me, this is,
it's, I mean, I think this, like, the rules that would be pertinent to, I don't know, of our harbor where people wanna build versus Bucksport, where we don't have the same.
I
right,
think the problem with Bar Harbor is that they can't, like, they have nurses that have no place to rent
Mm-hmm.
because everything is owned by people that are Airbnb-ing it and it's not, or they're just sitting there vacant and
Right, it's,
nobody's there.
but our problems.
But
are different
the
from
main
those.
point really is like,
We want people here.
we want people here, we want people
To
to buy,
come.
but people have to be able to afford to live here. And if they have to rent out a space or do an ADU or short term, I think that,
I know,
you have to be flexible with that,
I mean,
open-minded.
my other thought was, I know that the school department hires new teachers every year. the guy replaced me, moved in from, he had to like live in Searsport to,
Yeah,
and he was doing that,
It's
he
a
lost
real
his,
problem.
but he's actually the house across from the, Redemption Center, he bought that, and
oh
he's
yeah, the one
fixing,
that
yeah.
was
he
picked
ma-
up,
yeah,
that was
right.
fixed up, yeah.
Yeah, and on a beginning teacher salary, if you had like a, I mean, you could rent that, a yearly rental,
Mhm.
right, to people, because they'd hire people who move in, and maybe for a year or two till they get their professional contract. It's, I mean, that was hard for him to find a rental in Bucksport.
Yeah.
So that was more of our problem, actually, like nice,
Decent
affordable rentals.
size, a decent apartment.
More so than, I don't know, housing for nurses.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
if-
professional.
Well, anybody,
yeah,
anybody's
anybody.
I mean, nurses are coming for maybe not as long as a teacher, looking for, to do, how long are their terms, like 2 years or so?
Kathleen, my wife, worked for Ron at 15 Central Street or whatever, 51 Central, 15 or whatever, that 3-unit Airbnb. Their number one client were nurses that had 3-month contracts
Mhm.
in Bangor. And that's who they rented the most to, actually.
Yeah.
So, but they would do long 3-4 month rentals, whatever their term was. But they would come up from Boston or Providence or whatever and need housing for a few months.
Mhm.
That was their biggest client, more so than the tourists. But
I'm not seeing where I put anything in here about short-term rentals. I think I left it out.
Is that separate?
No, it would be right here under this ADU.
Oh, I see.
So I mean, they have to be built to code and they have to meet the requirements of code and stuff, but they, yeah, and obviously it has to meet the septic system or city sewer requirements and all that stuff, but I mean, yeah, So except that any lot with one single-family dwelling regardless of a lot size shall be allowed 1 ADU as long as all other requirements are met. So I mean, that's,
Setbacks.
well, this is nothing I think I want to do anytime soon. So
no, but I'm sure there will be people that do.
right.
I have
So you
one.
couldn't do more than one, you could do
Just
3.
There's
3
rules in
units.
here about, if it's a blank lot, then you might be able to do more, but if it's an existing lot that's, I mean, some people's lots, I don't even know where you would put it, you know?
Well, if you turned like a house, say you had a house that you could turn into a duplex, and then a garage that you could turn
Right.
into another unit.
So you'd be adding two at that point,
Right.
and that's allowed. You're allowed to have one that's attached and one that's detached.
Okay.
So it's all in there.
Yeah, mine's detailed. I have an ADU. Yeah, I have.
Well, that's the thing too, is we've kind of had these,
We had it for a
we just
while.
didn't call them that. We called them in-law apartments or apartment above a garage.
Yeah.
Called it a 1.5 family.
ADU makes it a little bit more
More.
appropriate when sometimes people don't like certain words, so we just have to be more.
So I mean, I didn't really have much option on most of this stuff. You know, I did, a lot of towns put limits on the size of them. And I did that with 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Um,
Maximum?
Yeah. And the minimum is the state law, which is the 190, which is just so minuscule, it's crazy, but that's, state law says,
New York,
Yeah.
like a New
That's-
York apartment.
Oh my God.
yeah. So I don't know, is there anything else you had questions on in here?
I mean, it's not in here, but
Sure.
I mean, if the town wanted to increase affordable housing, I mean, they're working on something to do with the vacant properties that are just sitting there empty. I've got a couple in my neighborhood, just sitting there empty,
I
right?
know,
And they could be housing people, and they're already existing properties.
but they're not ours. So we
No,
have to
they're
have a
not.
reason to take them, or, yeah, it's, a lot of times they're bank owned too, which is really difficult, but.
but you can build incentives in, you know, after X number of years, there will be a fee assessed for, you know,
Yeah.
at some point, if that doubles every so often, even if it's in a bank, like why, this is not in our best interest to hold on to this. But people hoarding property or bank portfolios hoarding properties that people could live in, I don't know. The other thing I've noticed in my neighborhood, were people that live elsewhere and come up for 2 months in the summer and hold on to a property that could be housing somebody that wants to live here. But it's their just vacation home for 6 weeks or something like that. So,
I totally get that, but what do we do?
I don't, we could.
That's the problem with like Bar Harbor, that's what Bar Harbor has, a whole bunch of that, but I mean, you
It's-
can't really tell somebody what to do with their property.
It's starting here though, I mean, that's just because.
I totally agree, but I don't know what the answer is.
Exactly.
Right, so, but that's, I'd rather live in a neighborhood with people, not with vacation homes.
Agreed.
And we can get ahead of this if we're careful, but that, I mean, it will happen here. So I would, if you wanna live here, live here.
But what's your suggestion for solving that?
Well, for the vacant lots, you could adopt what Bangor did, and because it's
Yes.
already been court tested, right? You get 2 years, here's a notice, you know, rent the thing, sell the thing, move the thing, but don't leave it vacant. They're fined $800 every 6, and it doubles every 6 months. You know, then it's at, you know, the 6 months, 1,200, 2,400, 40. At some point, that's going to wake people up, even if they're just sitting on it. Like it's going to be a liability. It will, but you give them 2 years, so it's not like it's automatic, and they've been warned. And they'll either sell it, rent it, or do something with it rather than sit on it and let it rot and fall apart.
What if there's a seller that has one, it's a vacant house and trying to sell it and it sits for a while, you're gonna find
That's
them?
different. They're trying to do something with it. That's different. I'm talking about the properties that,
Just sitting there rotting.
you know, like an old church perhaps, that
Not saying any
This is
specific
one of those
properties.
that
that's, you know, do something with that property. Sell it
I
if you
think
don't.
that, I think that's a good idea, I think that we have properties that
Yeah.
could be made doing something with.
That, and that doesn't, I mean, that's, to me, low-hanging fruit. You've got the buildings, they're there. It just provides incentive from people that are not doing something.
Is that something you would add to these existing as in land use, or is this a separate?
That would be something new.
Yeah, it's new, so it would be something different, but anyway, you could, I'm sure Bangor wouldn't care if we copied whatever their ordinance was, and we could set it fees to whatever we think. But I mean, it's not like we're pioneering this, we're just doing something. And I wouldn't be surprised if more Maine communities don't start to do this, to address, you know, affordable housing.
All right.
But there has been some good improvements on certain lots that were abandoned and now have been improved. Like on Hank Street, that looks nice.
Central Street.
Central
Central
Street,
Street,
that
yeah.
looks really good.
Someone's working on that corner house.
Yeah, there's the two houses there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Woodward House and the other.
And then further up the road, that other house, that,
The Kyle Orchid bought
yeah,
and redid.
that's really nice. I mean, I think there's things happening.
All right, so as far as these code changes go, is there anything else you had questions on or?
No.
This seems, I am on a school board subcommittee, and we've been the policy review committee. This is what we have been doing for the past few years, is just bringing what we have in the RSU up to state language.
Yeah.
So that, that makes everything clear. And so it's very similar to that process.
That's geologists.
Well, and just if you're curious, this isn't live for the public just yet, but this is what our town
Okay.
code will look like.
And it's all clickable.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you can click on anything you want. You can search, so if you want to short-term rental, see that comes right up, you can click on that, takes you to that chapter. You can click on any of the, you can't see my cursor here, but you can click on any of these down here. And see, okay, what are the permit requirements? You can click on that, and there they are. And if you wanna print them, you can go up to the top there and click print or download or share. It's all right there.
That all in yourself.
What's that?
Did you type that in all yourself?
No. No, I sent all the town code stuff that we had, the most current stuff, to this company. And they went through everything
Well, that's
and
super user friendly.
Yeah,
It's
that is very-
wonderful. so there's, I believe, somewhere around 40 towns in Maine already, towns and cities that are using this. It's called Ecode 360.
I will
I
tell you, as a real
talked to-
estate agent, this sort of stuff is
Yeah.
so nice.
I would click, click, click.
Oh, I know, cause I
to
get the
find it,
calls all the
because you get
time
the
where
calls
they
from
like,
us
Yeah.
going,
we
hey,
can't figure out where this is, so,
the
if
GIS map, I wish everybody would do that.
yeah. So like, minimum lot size.
And this will link to forms that they need to fill out. Yes.
To apply.
To apply, I mean, or is there no link
Well-
for that?
Not exactly, but
Oh, okay.
but the information they need is here. So dimensional standards. And here's your, if I go down below the definitions. Well, anyway, so all the tables and everything, it's all right there, searchable, printable. You can highlight stuff, you can, so, once this gets approved by council, this, what you're seeing here will
Like,
be tied into our website, so when you click on code, it'll take you to this page and you'll be able to see all this stuff.
Now, will you be able to get there from the GIS maps?
Not yet, they make a, we don't own it, they make a, an add-on that when you click on a lot on the GIS, it will tell you the minimum lot size in that zone. It'll tell you what zone you're in, it'll tell you the minimum lot size in that zone, the minimum street frontage.
Oh, that'd be
It'll
great.
tell you all that stuff. And from there you can click and it'll take you to things in this. But it's like another add-on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But that would be a great feature.
it is, it's fairly new for them, so I'm kind of waiting for them to work the bugs out with some other towns. And also, our budget this year was not great, so I didn't feel like asking for anything. So, yeah. But I've been talking with Jake about it and stuff, so I mean,
Yeah.
if it really seems like something that will help us, then.
Well, it would
push it forward.
probably greatly diminish what you have to deal with for phone calls.
I think this is gonna help a lot, but in any case, that's what it looks like. And then, so, any other questions or anything about that? All right, you've got the document, we're gonna review it again next month, or at least have the public hearing, and so if you do come up with any questions between now and then, it's fine.
We all set on that item? Anybody
So-
anymore?
Real quick, and this might, is supposed to be there, these fines that are listed on page 1, those ones are supposed to be there, right? Okay. I figured you are.
Those are, is that the animal?
yeah, the animal.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
That's different, it doesn't fall under that state statute with
Okay.
the land use ones that I was talking about.
No, doubled size, the animal control fines.
There is,
Do we have a sound ordinance?
it's not necessarily a sound ordinance, I
We
don't
do
think it's,
And we don't have an odor ordinance either.
How do you measure that?
Yeah,
That's the problem, same with the sound, I mean, sound, there are
You can
decibel
measure
meters and
decibel. I mean,
stuff.
I've got an app here that measures decibel.
But it's, you gotta catch it at just the, like, say you call me and I leave my house and I drive, it's a hard one to enforce.
but isn't there an ordinance on
Sound and
like,
light are easily measured, light intensity, like cameras have been doing that. In sound, you've had recording stuff, but recording like odors, I mean, there are odor tests you do with medicine, but in a general area, like parts per million, I guess you could do some.
It's tough, and it's come up in the industrial park with the lobster shells and the dumpsters and stuff. and It's really hard to,
So, yeah, sounds don't necessarily have to be loud to be aggravating, right?
I get that.
If you got a neighbor that blasts rap music that you don't like, it may not reach the decibel
right,
level, of 90 decibels or whatever you set, but it's still annoying. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that.
The state just passed a law last week, about chickens.
What?
We don't
They're
have
not
any,
emotional sport animals anymore?
we don't have a law or ordinance in town restricting people's chickens, so when people call me about it, I just say, be a good neighbor, you know,
I hand my neighbor eggs.
and we haven't, had any real problems in town, knock on wood. I had one in the 6 years I've been here. And when I went and investigated it, it really wasn't a problem. I couldn't smell anything.
Yeah.
The coop was clean, everything. In any case, now towns are forbidden to have an ordinance that restricts chickens, or not just chickens, but game,
Animal for
domestic
food.
birds. So it could be turkeys, emus, ostrich,
Oh.
peacocks, guinea hens. But they do have.
Those aren't game birds, are they?
I don't know.
Emu is a game bird? I don't know.
I don't know if as
I
a
wouldn't think so.
peacock is, but
So in any case, they
Bald eagle.
you're allowed to have up to 36 chickens.
pigeon.
We
Oh.
can have ordinances against roosters.
That's, speaking of, sound, was more of an annoyance to me than like anything else.
Yeah,
Just due to the time that I would hear
my
them.
wife has one, trust me, I know.
The minute they want an ordinance on roosters, I want an ordinance on Harleys.
That's not
Oh,
happening.
lordy, we don't have enough time for that one.
You're approaching sacred ground.
I was
here.
gonna say, holy-
I know.
Just saying, if you don't wanna be arbitrary and capricious, sound is sound, whether it's coming out of a tailpipe or
Yeah.
a throat.
So they passed this law, and part of the law is that the chickens or whatever the birds are have to be controlled. They can't just be
They
running
can't
around
be
to your
free
neighbor's
range,
property
yeah.
and
Free
stuff.
range.
No free range.
And you have to have like 4 square feet per chicken in the coop, and you have to have like 10
Well,
square
there's
feet per
probably
chicken
been people
outside.
that are doing like stupid things, so.
I know that, but
that's-
4, I mean, I don't know if you've ever raised chickens, but 4
I have.
square feet per chicken in the
Pretty
coop
tiny.
is,
It's-
that's big.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Chickens like to
Oh,
bunch
4 by
right
4 by 4,
together
yeah.
on a
Yeah,
perch.
They
We
fight
have
over-
this great big coop, and they all are on one perch.
Yeah,
right
they're
there.
safer together
They're
and
safer together, yeah.
So I mean, but whatever. I mean, it's not something I'm looking to run around and enforce. But I guess if there's somebody that's really abusing animals or being bad, it's there as some teeth
Fallback.
for me. But
Isn't that an animal control issue?
probably,
Not
yeah,
yours
probably,
necessarily?
yeah.
Well, I guess
Sometimes
you would
I've
call it
gotten
domesticated animal.
I've gotten calls from people that their neighbors' chickens are attacking them. I get them all. So in any
See,
case,
that's why you say call animal control. You get the wrong number. That would be, it's not my jurisdiction.
in any case, okay.
Anything else? Going once, going twice. Item 7, administrative business, none. 8, limited public forum, an opportunity for the public to address the board on matters related to land use or planning in the town of Bucksport.
Our one public left, so.
And seeing none, we'll move on to item 9, discussion. Anything we need to have a discussion on?
I think we just did.
real quick, I
Okay.
thought I read an article about a Whole Oceans is gonna do something.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know anything.
Usually in the football.
Huh?
Oh, we
I
want.
believe I read that same
Seriously, did
article.
you
Yeah, I read it.
I was more confused when I finished than I did at the beginning. and
Well, that's why I
was
brought it
confused.
today, cause I thought, well, if, it wouldn't be a good planning board meeting if we didn't discuss this.
I don't know anything.
That's,
Nothing?
it's going to build
Well,
a smaller,
No.
like, test case.
I get out of that, they're under restructuring for like the 3rd or 4th time.
Oh.
I think.
And that they might do something with this.
They might do something.
Yeah, we haven't heard that before.
There's a lot of state permits that go
Plus
beyond
the
the
Gulf Coast, they
5-year
changed.
threshold.
Yes,
right?
those are, some of those are still good, yeah.
Right, that's,
So no news.
I know nothing. I really don't.
We try.
I know nothing.
Trying to get it.
What about the other one, Fountain Inn?
Do we have anything on that, where
No.
that's, it's sold, we know it's
Yes.
sold, do we know? Do we have anybody pulling permits to open up anything there?
Oh, the
Face on face.
hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It could have been acquired as part of a portfolio, but, I mean, or I don't know.
The outfit that acquired that has done several of those in Ellsworth.
Yes, I
Oh.
did hear that.
Yeah.
That's why I was kind of wondering where they were going with it.
All I can tell you is they acquired several properties in Ellsworth and they followed through on those.
Did they? I feel like this is kind of our thing. People buy property, intend to do something with it and don't, right?
No, what he's saying is they
No, but I
bought
mean-
it and they did do something with it.
Oh, yeah, I'm hoping that's the case, is what I'm saying. It's, people buy things and they speculate and they don't end up doing anything with them. So,
And they're making good headway on the old building, what is across from Crosby's there, Snowman's. That
Yeah,
looks
they
like
are.
it's making
yeah.
some good headway.
It's a different town.
Oh, right.
Is
you
it?
know,
Right,
I
that's
forget
all.
Yeah,
that.
it is
I
orange.
forget that. Okay.
It just feels like it's in.
It should be part of our town.
Yeah.
There's
Should it be?
46 is Bucksport. I feel like the right size would just be,
He's-
just kidding.
Sorry.
Make oil in the 51st state or something. Any more
If it
discussion
touches
on any item?
46 is Bucksport.
Yeah. If you want to discuss, okay, item 10, adjournment. Any motions?
So moved.
Anybody want a second for
Discuss it.
adjournment?
Let's
I will
discuss
second
adjournment.
this,
Moved and second for adjournment, those in favor?
Night, everybody.
Meeting adjourned.
I thought it was gonna be a long one.